Hi, and welcome back to my podcast Film Talk. Today I will be talking about the Meg 2, The Trench. So I have been to see it now today, bit late of the release date, but I have just seen it now. And you will find with me, I am quite picky when it comes to films, only because I look into a lot of just details and stuff into it. It's not like that film was good, that film wasn't so great. I have reasons, but basically watching this film, I realised that I'm disappointed in what I thought it was going to be. So obviously I wasn't looking for anything major, but I was definitely disappointed. Before I go into the reasons, this film I will be giving, out of the 5 stars, I will be giving a 2-star. There are reasons and I will go through them right now. So the first reason is, I feel like, and also just in case, there may be small spoilers in this. Well, not like major ones, but just in case I might spoil some things. So if anyone is not a spoiler fan of like small details, I recommend maybe not listening to this episode, but just in case I accidentally say something and reveal something. But basically, I found it was too much action. Obviously, the Meg, there was some action. Like there was. I mean, also it's Jason Statham. Like there's gonna be some action in it. But I felt like it was too much and it was too technology based. Obviously the first Meg film did have a lot of technology, like the diving and everything like that, but this one had way too much technology than I expected, and there were other creatures in it that seemed displaced. So there was no explanation for a creature that is in this film, and there was no explanation for another creature that shows up in this film. And I thought it was going to be heavily based on the Megalodons. It wasn't really. It was like sort of, they popped up, it's about fighting them, blah, blah, blah. But it was just a heavily monster film that I wasn't expecting. It was good for a monster film, if you like monster films, if you just want to watch something, like for fun, it's like it was a fun film, but it wasn't anything from the trailer what I expected. Another thing is, I feel like what they did was they tried to almost like take Ridley Scott's Alien with all the technology and the ships and everything, and like minus the space from that, but keep the sort of monstery sort of esque and the technology about Ridley Scott's Alien, and mix it with Steven Spielberg's Jaws. So it's very like a mix of both things, but didn't work. I don't know, that was the kind of vibe I was getting from it. I was getting Alien and Jaws in one movie with Jason Statham and a lot of action, but too much for a shark film. I felt was going to be a bit more like ocean based and shark based, megalodon based, so it sort of just gave off a sort of just too much, really. Like, it's hard to explain. It just wasn't there. What I did like, there were some shots that I did like. They did a shot from the inside of the Megalodon's mouth. That was a really good shot. I did love that. One thing they did steal, though, that I did notice a bit from Jaws, was there is a moment where a character goes down, I won't say who, where a character goes down into near to the Megalodon's mouth, but it's obviously coming off a little thing, and it was giving a reference to, obviously in Jaws, when, I can't remember the guy's name, but when the guy falls into the shark's mouth, like nearly, it was sort of given that, but I don't really have too much to say, because I didn't think I was really going to do a podcast on the Meg 2, really, because some films I don't tend to do podcast on, unless I'm like really sort of thinking it's going to be a good film, or unless I have something to really, really say about it. So this film disappointed me in the way I had to make a podcast explaining the disappointment. But I feel it was just not cinematic. I mean, obviously, the Meg, it's not going to be cinematic. You know what I mean? Like, it's not going to be Oppenheimer. It's not going to be, it's not going to be insane. It's just a bit of fun, but like, there were a few jump scares in it, but it was just like a clash. It was a clash of ideas. Like, in school, how you'd make like a storyboard and there'd just be so much going on. There's no like plot. There was basically no plot. It was just sort of just a film they wanted to mash together, and there was no plot. Obviously, there's a beginning, middle, end, but there wasn't like a string connecting them all, like explaining everything. Do you know what I mean? So it was a bit rushed. It felt rushed. I'm sure it wasn't rushed, but it felt rushed. It felt like a last minute sort of plan. To be honest, when the trailer did come out, and when I did hear that they were making a second Meg film, I didn't have high hopes, because sequels, I usually don't have high hopes for sequels, as I don't 100% believe in sequels unless they're sort of needed, or unless it's like a franchise, like Mission Impossible, Saw, like they're franchises. But sometimes I don't agree with sequels. Like, obviously franchises start from sequels, but sometimes they just don't work, because I feel like with a lot of sequels, it ruins the story and it ruins the imagination that can be taken from the original film. Like, we could have watched the first Meg and left it at that, left it that Jason Statham did a Megalodon film. That one was alright, well, I mean alright, I mean like a fun film, like, I wouldn't say it was cinematic, but they did not need to carry it on. It was just, for me, it was unnecessary. It was just not needed, and too much action. There's just too much going on, and it was just, I was being bombarded by just loads of different things. It was almost like how I felt with the Jurassic World Dominion one. Like, I didn't like that, because I felt there was no plot, there was no understanding, no explanations of some things, some characters. It just felt so out of place. And like, every now and then they bring up like the backstory of the first one, which obviously they would do in sequel, but it was just at random times. And at one moment in this one, Jason Statham's character like pulled out the same thing he used to defeat the Megalodon in the first film, and I was like, that's actually the same thing. Like, are you gonna use that? Like, it's a bit boring then. But I just was really disappointed in how not heavy on the sharks it was. Like, yeah, okay, there were loads of sharks. There were. Yep, there were. But it wasn't like a proper shark film. I'd just say it was a monster film. And for me, I'm not 100% fans of monster film. Like, when it comes to, like, too much action in a monster film, because I find it's just so unrealistic. Like, for me, with all the machinery and the technology, it made it so unrealistic to the point it wasn't scary, because that the shark isn't going to be able to even get through that much machinery realistically, and the science wasn't there. And I know it's a film, but it just didn't make any sense whatsoever. I did like the opening scene, however, but yeah, I'm giving that film a 2-star, and I'm very disappointed. I am, but that's just sometimes what happens in cinema. You get the hype. That's the thing. You get the hype, and then you get disappointed. That's the one thing about like films getting all over TikTok and stuff, is everyone makes the hype so good with the cast and everything like that, and then you watch the film and you're like, actually, it's not really that great. Sometimes like the hype has such a big deal on a film, especially with like, let's take it back to when Don't Worry Darling came out. Like, the reason why that film I felt had such bad reviews was because we kept reminding ourselves on how the filming process went, like through when it was being made. Obviously there was so much badness and everything, like rumours and nonsense that came from the cast. It just ruined the film. It ruined the make of the film. It just ruined the whole feeling of it. So hypes and all that can actually have an effect, like for me, on a film. So I got really hyped up for this, too hyped for this, and I was just disappointed. But it happened, we all get disappointed, but I was afraid to say I was disappointed. Another point I was going to make is Jason Statham is in a lot of the same type of films. I know a lot of actors do sometimes tend to do the same genre, but sometimes I feel like they are typecasted, so I don't know whether or not it's out of his choice or typecasting. But there's another trailer, for a film he's in with Megan Fox. Again, can't remember the name of it, but it just seems the same. He's like the same character. I don't know, because obviously it was just a trailer, but it just seems like it's just the same character a lot of the time. I haven't really seen many of his films, so I can't really judge yet, but yeah. So thank you for listening to this episode. I hope you enjoyed my intake of this film. But yes, I will be giving this a 2-star, and I am going to see what Empire had given it as well. And make sure to keep updated with other episodes that I post, as I will keep this podcast an ongoing thing. What I'm going to do with this podcast is I am going to keep it going and hopefully aim to get it a bit on a bigger platform. Not a bigger platform, but just sort of get it known to people. I might get people on the podcast, and then I might start doing like a video podcast thing, hopefully over time. So that is what I'm going to be doing. So keep an eye out for other episodes, and yes.